My name is Vanessa Knutsen, and I was born in Israel. My film is The Promised Land. It deals with an illegal worker, Mary, who's living in Israel under strict deportation laws. And she's aided by her employer, Leah, who is Israeli, affluent, educated. They couldn't be more different from each other, and yet they're extremely close friends.
Miri, come on.
I was shooting abroad, away from my peers and professors and colleagues. So I was basically out there alone in the field, and I had to assemble a crew on my own, find a producer. I lost 2 producers while I was making the film. And I was shooting in tough locations. We shot at a open-air food market in Israel, in Tel Aviv, called the Carmel Market. And it's crazy. It's a mob. It's a zoo. And we filmed there. So that was interesting. I lost the stall that I was supposed to shoot in. I lost on the day when we got there. There were 2 guys who owned the stall, and I made a deal with one of them, but he wasn't there on the day. And so his partner was there, and he was not having it. He said, "You're stopping my business. I need to work. I need to make money. What are you doing here? Get out." And so right away, I just went into problem-solving mode and found another stall. And the guy was great about it. His only insistence was that he be in the shot. So he's in the shot, in the market. The film is actually based on a real story. Aside from this being an issue that is currently happening in Israel, a political issue, my mother's housekeeper was at the house cleaning when she got a call from her friend who lives in her building telling her that their apartment was raided yet again. And my mother basically told her right away, "You're staying here. Vanessa's room is empty. You can stay there until you figure out what you need to do." So that's where this story came from. My mother's relationship with her housekeeper and how close they were, and that my mother was able to help her. Even though she didn't need to and she wasn't benefiting from it necessarily, she felt she had to do this. Reading about what the illegal workers were going through and still are going through is heartbreaking. Families are being torn apart, and it's a very sad issue. I met with many of them. I went to the nonprofit organization that provides legal aid for the workers, and I met with many of them, spoke with them about what they were going through, and they see Israel as their home. They identify Israel as their home. Even though they weren't born there and they don't speak the language and they're not Jewish, they feel very much a part of this country, and they want to stay there. And they've had children that are born there who feel completely Israeli. They speak Hebrew, they go to Israeli schools, their friends are Israeli, they dream of one day serving in the army. So there is this generational gap between the parents and the children who were born in Israel that my film looks at as well. And I think that's a really interesting issue.
מרי! מרי! מה אמרת לה?
אמא, תסמכי עליי.
אני לא רוצה לראות אותך.
מה?
עוף לי מהעיניים.
את התחרפנת לגמרי?
לך! לך!
The film is about the abstract idea of a home, how a home can be fluid and not tied to geographical boundaries or language or, local rituals and customs, but about a feeling that you have of home. And which is something that I identify with because I was born in Israel, but I grew up in 2 places. And, for me, the idea of home has been fluid, America and Israel, for the past 15 years, or actually for the past 32 years. And so I identify with that. And this desire, what's so interesting about this film and heartbreaking for me is that these people, they want it to be their home. They see it as their home. They've been living there for so long. But because of some legal, political complication, they're forced to leave. And that's tough.